Alright, let's see here. The trailer for Yo Gabba Gabba Land has been released. The first season of Barney's World has been leaked, including the theme song, pretty generic as hell. And, hang on, a new book had just come out. And what's going on over here? Scott released a new book already? Dang, man, you're quick. Hello again, YouTube. My name is Sam the Mini Yeti, and I'm here to review the next book from Scott Tatt, Emerald Silverlock, A Cruise to Adventure. This is the second book to the Silverlock Sister series, and of course a follow-up to the first book, Ruby Silverlock, Supernatural Explorer. And of course, this actually has a different character as the star, Ruby's sister, Emerald. So for the plot of this book, Ruby Silverlock has actually been getting nightmares ever since the events of the last book, which I will not say, so you're not getting any spoilers here. And Emerald gets the idea of going on a cruise to Norway in order to, you know, just kind of lighten the mood a bit for her. And what started as a simple holiday suddenly becomes a big adventure when Draven and the Hunters tail the Silverlock family and are also in the search of the Staff of Wishes. And only the pure of heart is able to gain access to it, and Draven believes that Emerald is their key to the thing. Let me start off by saying that the writing is as stellar as always. Scott always had a way of words in his writing, from the actions that the characters are doing in a scene, to describing the way that the characters feel during a certain scene. So even without illustrations to go with this book, even when you actually read about when a character gets hurt, you don't see it, but you still feel it. And remember when I was talking about how Ruby Silverlock had some influences that Scott had? It's still very much present here. From the Staff of Wishes being guarded, it's very much like the Cave of Wonders from Aladdin. And also, with this cruise aspect, one could argue that maybe one of the influences he got is from Hotel Transylvania 3, but I don't know. It's still a really fun book though. Actually, fun fact, the cruise aspect of this book was inspired by a real-life event that Scott had when he actually took a cruise to Norway. If I have to give one little criticism, it's actually more of a nitpick for me. While Emerald is the star of the book, I feel like some of the focus is still on Ruby a little bit. And I honestly get it, because she was going through a lot in this new one, but for the most part, I think Ruby could still take a few side steps. But I still think she was handled well, alright. Speaking of the characters, oh my gosh, are the characters very well handled here. First of all, yes, Ruby does go through quite a lot in this book, but I do like that the arc she goes through, and actually I also like for this one, the Silverlock sisters all get powers, which I have to say, I'm not going to give away how that happens, but I think the way that Scott wrote it here is very unique, and it actually works very well for this kind of universe. As I said earlier, Emerald is the star of this book, and I think she is a perfect antagonist for the most part. I actually love the character growth that she goes to. You do feel how scared she can be, but if it's something to do for her friends, especially her best friend Tony, then she's going to go through great lengths to make sure that they're happy. If there's one little bit of criticism I gotta say about the characters, it's this one character I forgot to mention in the last review named Selena. And she's supposed to be this goth girl who is secretly a sorceress. And I think she was not only kind of funny, but she also goes through a little bit of character development. But I feel like she was there for some of the first chapters of this book, but then by the time the cruise happens, she's just kind of sidelined a bit. But then again, that's just me. I'm just glad she's still in this book at all. And then you have the main antagonists of this book. You have Draven, who is kind of recovering from the events of the last book, and after what Ruby did to him, he's pretty much on the hunt for her and her family. But I have to say, I think Draven has been more developed here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think he was great in the last book, but one thing I have to mention, he goes through a very interesting character development. There's a scene in this book where he's contemplating on what he is doing with the Hunters is a good thing, And on top of that, if he is a good man. That's even one of the titles of the one of the chapters in this book. And I'm not gonna spoil what happens at the end with him, but I have to say, it's a breath of fresh air to see a villain do something like this. And then you have Draven's daughter, Alice, who is at the other side of the spectrum for a villain. Unlike Draven, who is hunting down Ruby, but not exactly out of revenge, Alice is just straight up mad at what Ruby did to Draven. So she just wants Ruby and her family dead, which kind of surprised me, actually. I think this is actually something that writers might have to consider for henchmen characters, kind of like similar to Alice. Maybe the villain has some development, but sometimes even the henchmen don't even let go. As for some new characters, I feel like the one I have to mention is Tony, Emerald's best friend. Their friendship is definitely some of the best heart I've ever seen in a book like this. And I have to say, during a bit where Tony reveals a secret to Emerald, you definitely feel bad for what's going on, and you definitely want to see them succeed in what they have to do. With that being said, I really enjoyed this book, and I can't wait for the third one to come out, actually surprisingly, in November or even December. Scott doesn't even really know when the actual release date is yet. But with that being said, I will give Emerald Silverlock: A Cruise to Adventure a solid 9.5 ice cubes out of 10. So until next time, this has been Sam the Mini Yeti, and I will see you all in the next video, folks, so stay cool!